Good morning, guys. Welcome to shul.com and the Surfside Kolel Boker. Baruch Hashem, we have a great breakfast here this morning. It's funny, they had that Washington, D.C. rally yesterday. I read online a couple of the comments. Some of the police officers that I read online were like, it was unbelievable. He got more thank yous in one day than he did in the last 20 years of working there. He goes, it was unbelievable, Kiddush Hashem. He said everyone it was so well planned and everyone just worked well, so good together. Everyone was so impressed. What a Kiddush Hashem. And you know what's interesting about this? Look at the way the other rallies and protests are, where everyone's chanting Lo Aleinu, death to this, and down with this, while we were just saying Am Yisrael Chai. I didn't attend the rally because I was here learning and working, but
my daughter went.
I did pray for everyone's success, and I pray for all your success. But this morning, I want to talk to you about something else completely different. Rabbi Zilberstein, Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein is a rabbi who lives in Israel, in Bnei Brak. He deals with a lot of interesting, wild cases that happens in the Beit Din, and he wrote a book, and it was subsequently translated into English. It's called V'ha'arevna. I'm going to read you a case, guys. It's unbelievable. And the title of the case is Indirect Guilt for Another Person's Death. Okay? Are you guys ready? Fasten your seatbelts. So, Lo Aleinu, there was a Nazi doctor, and he went into one of the barracks of the concentration camps one night, and he wanted to determine who he was going to choose is going to go to work and who was going to go to the death camps and be burned. And he was determining, and after looking around all of the barracks, he decided that the way he's going to mark out each child is that any child that he removed the KIPPA from, the yarmulke from his head, the guards in the morning will know if they have no head covering, take them to the death camp. If they had a head covering, keep them in the barrack. They're going to continue working. Okay, this way he can easily distinguish one from another. It's very, very simple. So this Nazi doctor went through, he pulled off a bunch of kippot, and everything was set. Now in the middle of the night comes this little, one of these guys sleeping, one of the kids sleeping, and he realized he has to go to the bathroom. So he woke up, and right away he's like, oh, where's my kippah? And looked around, he didn't see his kippah. So right away he ran to the bathroom, he came back, he's like, I have to make asher yatzad. So he was really tired. He saw one of his friends, he took his friend's kippah, he put his friend's kippah on his head, and he said asher yatzad, and he wanted to return the kippah. His intention was to put it right back, but he got so tired, 3 o'clock in the morning, Nazi concentration camp, there's no heat, there's nothing. The guy, luckily, bezod, he's alive. He fell asleep with the kippah on his head. In the morning, a lot of knocks, all the Germans come in, and the SS officers, and they have a command from the Nazi doctor. Whoever has a kippah, you keep him for work. Whoever does not have a kippah, you take him to death camp. Wow. Right away, he notices in the morning, and he realizes what had happened the night before, that his kippah was removed, and he subsequently took his friend's kippah, who was chosen to go to work, and instead had it on his head because he wanted to make asher yatzad, and he forgot to take it off. Lo and behold, his friend got sent to death camp and died, and this boy ended up going to the work in the camps. He ended up surviving, and he makes aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. Now, he goes to one of the rabbis in Israel, I believe it was his Rav, and he asks his rabbi, is he responsible for the death of another Jewish person? Of course, I'll bet, without intention, but is he responsible for the other kid's death? He literally took his kippah. Maybe you want to call it gneva. He didn't return it. Subsequently, that led to that child's death. Is this guy responsible? It's a wild question. And I know you guys come here to learn, and you might think seemingly that the answer is so simple, but it's not. But let's take a look here. So years later, Rav Zilberstein heard this question, And his response was, right away, the child cannot be held responsible for the actions. Why not? Let's take a look here. He says, number one, he never intended to harm his friend. When he took that kippah, what did he intend it for? Say Asher Asad. That's number one. Number two, he never had any reason to suspect that taking someone else's kippah is going to be the cause of someone's death. Number two, the next thing, he truly wanted to return the kippah to his friend at night, but he subsequently was very tired and he collapsed from being exhausted and being tired, and he ended up not returning it. So seemingly from these three answers, he's not responsible. But on the other hand, there's another opinion. The Nodab Yehuda in Orah Hayim 34, he brings down, the Nodab Yehuda is Rabbi Yeheskel Landau. He's got a lot of wild shoots, this rabbi. Shoot is a she'ela u'tshuva. He's got some interesting ones. One of them that I tied into another class on Starbucks. Because back in the day, the Jews also in Europe used to like to go to the coffee shops. But back then there were no disposable cups. So how did you handle drinking coffee in a mug that had in it not kosher milk or other things? He discusses it in detail. Check out that Starbucks video. You'll check it out in detail of why Starbucks is not kosher for the most part, unless you're traveling. But that's not for now. So the Nodab Yehuda, he discusses the case of a different thing, which was a little bit, more specific. Let's say a person owns a business and he has a salesman, and he sends this salesman out on a trip to go make sales, makes be'az, go make some money for him, the company. So he sends a salesman out. The salesman goes out to Shanghai, China, and he's there for 6 months, and he catches the H5N1 flu. And subsequently, he gets taken to a Chinese hospital in Beijing or Peking back in the day, and the guy doesn't make it. Is the employer responsible for the death of the salesman? Let's take a look. So the Nodab Yehuda ruled that the employer is partly responsible and requires atonement for his share in that tragedy of killing the person. You see, in that case, he sent the salesman out on a mission. There's some responsibility, maybe, we're not talking about legal or U.S. law here. We're talking about the Torah law. We're saying, what does the Torah say about this? Now, although the company owner had no reason to suspect the guy's going to die, he's a salesman. It's his job. He took it upon himself to do that. No different than a doctor working in a hospital who might seemingly contract a illness or disease from someone he's serving.
So this is where Jewish guilt comes in, huh?
Well, we're going to get to it. Mark, listen. Mark, listen, we come here to learn. And we come to learn. You might hear things that we do that we should stop doing, and you might hear things that we need to add. So this is what we came for. So now, this company owner had no reason to suspect any danger, and he definitely didn't want any harm to occur to the salesman. Who would want that? The salesman is a moneymaker for the guy. He's doing well for his company. So maybe we could say the same thing about this child in the story. So seemingly an employer who sends a salesman out is not off the hook if something happens to the salesman, according to the Torah law over here, the Nodab Yehuda. But can we make a distinction between these two cases of a child in a Nazi concentration camp taking a kippah to say Asher Yasad versus a company owner sending out a salesman? Let's take a look. So in the case of the child, what happened? He wanted to do a mitzvah, correct? He wanted to make an Asher Yasad. And when he took the kippah from his friend, he was fulfilling one of the mitzvot in Shulchan Aruch. What is one of the mitzvot in Shulchan Aruch? It's in Orah Hayim 2-6 that a person should not walk 4 amot without a head covering. Head covering can be anything. It could be a hat, it could be a kippah, it could be a turban, it could be a talit, it could be anything. So there is a halakha in Shulchan Aruch, and he wanted to fulfill this halakha along with saying the beracha. Now, he didn't ask permission to borrow the kippah. He just took it without asking. And it's similar to what the Mishnah B'Dira brings down in 1-2, that a person may borrow his friend's what's called nagelwasser. What's nagelwasser? There's a custom that they do, very good, John, that they used to put next to the bed. I actually did this, believe it or not, when I learned this first mitzvah. I'm Sfaradi, but I was a kid, I was living in Brooklyn on Avenue S, and I said, you know what? I learned the halakha. I thought it was like something nice where you wake up in the morning, say modani, and you literally do it right next to your bed. And what you do is you take a big bowl, and then you have another cup that you put inside, and you fill it up with water, and then you cover the water, because you don't want to leave the water uncovered overnight. And then when you wake up in the morning, you wash your hands right away, and then you take the bowl with it, and you spill it into the bathroom. Now, I did this for many years. I stopped when Rav Musafi gave down the halakha that's for Sfaradim. We don't do this. because our homes are considered for amot, meaning if the guy's got a house that's 10,000 square feet, that is considered for amot, because under one roof, one jurisdiction, one home, he counts it as one. He goes, you don't need to do that. He said, just walk to the bathroom and you'd be okay. And so I stopped. And he brought in a few other reasons why it'd be problematic, not for the specifics now. So I ended up stopping to do it. So the Mishnah Berurah asks, let's say Mark did it, and you're living with somebody at home, Mark, right, with Sammy. Let's say Sammy, you're done with it. Sammy wants to go and use it. Does he have to? If he doesn't ask you, is it okay? Is it stealing? You took his keli to wash your hands. So he says over here, a person may borrow his friend's nagelvas, or what they call, and as long as you're going to return it. He says there's no problem, because as long as you're going to replace it immediately, it's not an issue to go borrow it from your friend. He didn't have any loss on that. Now, this child intended to do a mitzvah, and he had zero reason to suspect that taking someone's kippah would subsequently lead to his death. That's not a normal occurrence in any situation, anywhere in the world, or at any time. And he goes, this can't be compared to an employer sending out a salesman. An employer sending out a salesman has a mission. This guy's not going to do a mitzvah. He's going to do a mission of making money for the company. Yeah, John?
But isn't somebody who gives somebody a job is one of the highest mitzvahs you can do?
Yes, it is a mitzvah of tzedakah, but you're sending out a salesman. He's making money for you. You're right. It is a form of tzedakah to give someone, for sure, to give it. Now, everyone that goes on a journey understands that there is a sense of danger when you go out on a trip. Everyone knows that. Why do you think we say tefilat haderech? Even when you go on a short trip, halakha says 72 minutes. You go out from here to the Everglades, 72 minutes, you got to say tefilat haderech. And you know what? You got to say with kavanah. Not everyone, this lo aleinu, there's things that happen along the way. So he says, Rav Zilberstein concluded by stating the verse in the parasha of Naso. The man shall be clean of sin, but the woman shall bear the consequences of her own sin. What does that mean? It says the Baal HaTurim explains that if a husband, let's say he brings his wife to Beit Din, to Beit HaMikdash, because he suspected her of being secluded in a room with a married man that she pre-warned him not to be together with him. You understand? Let's say he's married, and he tells his wife, I don't want you hanging out with that guy. I know he's married. You're friends with him. I see you flirt with him all the time. I don't want you going over there. And subsequently, two people come to him and say, listen, by the way, I just saw your wife. She came out of, that club. What do you mean? Yeah, she came out with the guy. What do you mean? Who was there? I don't know. It was empty. The room was empty when I went to see it, but it was only them two. Now this guy suspects, because I warned you already. Why are you hanging out with that person? Why are you doing that? He takes her to the Beit HaMikdash and he goes, I don't trust you. I have a problem here in this situation. Subsequently, she drinks the water and she blows up to 1,000,000 pieces. Is he responsible for her death?
No.
What do you mean? Who took her to get killed? Maybe if he wouldn't have said anything.
That's what it says that he has to do.
If he doesn't have to do it.
What? But then he.
I don't know if he has to do it. It's a good question. I don't know if he has to do it. I think that it's a choice, but I'll tell you another reason. Let's say he's on the way to the Beit HaMikdash and his wife seduces him and she sleeps with him. It don't work, the waters. Let's say on the way, the wife somehow seduces him and says, hey, come, we're going to the St. Regis tonight in Netanya. Come, let's go. And she serves him a couple of drinks to him and she sleeps with him. It don't work anymore. Reset, doesn't work. It's unbelievable. The halakha has got so many nuances to it. It's unbelievable. So let's take a look here. He says, when the Baal HaTurim, that when the husband brings the wife, is he responsible for her death? The Torah says no. The man shall be clean of sin. The woman shall bear the consequences of her own sin. And he should not feel guilty of any kind because he's got a suspicion. The Kohen Gadol, he's got the heebie-jeebie, he's got the Urim Betumim, he's got the magic waters with the Sotah waters. He drinks it to her. He knows how to give it to her. Now, she's responsible for her own death, and she carries all the guilt on her own head for her own actions. Here, too, Rav Zilberstein concluded the child should not feel guilty for anything that was done or any of the horrible atrocities that came through, because those were all done by the Nazis and the Germans, Bnei Amalek. And he goes, with that in mind, they bear the full burden of the death of that child, not the Jewish kid who ended up taking the kippah. It's an interesting case. a lot of specifics to it, and this was the case from V'ha'arev na Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen.
What about the